insights for growers to help them improve their quality in terms of their outcomes by optimizing their inputs, and that ranges from soil health to labor, water, and so on, helping them differentiate on their quality outcomes while being more profitable.
Excellent. So where are you in that stage? Live customers? Are you selling, or are you developing?
We do, yeah. So we really have kind of two different categories of where we focus. One is actually focusing with grower groups on innovation. And so one of those is USHBC, the U.S. Highbush Blueberry Council, on the Very Smart Fields program. And so with them, we showcase new technologies that are coming in out in commercial fields. So we do that with Driscoll's at Takuma Brothers. All good? Should we rewind a little bit? We had no audio. Okay.
On the outside, I can catch
On the outside. So we're good. We're going to keep going.
You're good in the stream, then yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
Hey, stream. We're doing great. All right. So.
First podcast of the morning. We're
I
working out the
know, we're
bugs.
getting going, right? We got the Diet Coke over here. We're ready to roll.
Okay, thanks.
Awesome. So with USHBC, we do the Very Smart Fields program to help showcase new technologies that are coming in out in the field. Really cool stuff. Big focus on harvest automation there. Another one we do in apples is the Smart Orchard program with WSU, Washington State University, and Washington Tree Fruit Research Commission. Same thing, rolling out new technologies, showcasing them, so on. Swipe that aside. Commercially, what we do is we've rolled out in berries with Norris Farms down in Oregon, for instance, which is tied in with Super Fresh on mapping out, providing them with equipment, training, supporting them on basically mapping the entirety of their farm from bud to blossom to greenberry to blueberry, and helping them understand new insights along the way. We do that with Fall Creek Nursery as well. Some of you, your viewers know and love Fall Creek. I'm certainly in that camp, where we help them with hundreds of different varieties on digital phenotyping on what's happening out in their fields using this tech. We work with McCain Foods on the potato side, digitizing some of their sustainable farms of the future out in Washington and Idaho, particularly around soil health and soil mapping. And so those are some of the examples of growers that we're working with commercially, and really looking to ramp that up even further as we go into 2025. With that said, this Fresh Catalyst Accelerator that we're part of as part of IFPA has really opened our eyes. It's been amazing for us. I've gone from our little corner of the world in Washington where apples is the big thing, of course, right? That's the #1 crop. But going down as part of this Fresh Catalyst tours that we've done with these 11 other folk in this cohort, it's been amazing going out to Taylor Farms and out to Grimway and out to Duda and Sunworld. My mind's been blown in terms of the opportunities and the needs when it comes to helping optimize some of the inputs and really doing that at massive scale.
So what surprised you, and what did you learn by going to those farms that was different than what you were doing before, and how will that affect your product and your product development?
Yeah, well, I mean, one is just the scale. I mean, apples in the Northwest are at scale, and so are blueberries. It's the #1 states, Washington, I think, and Oregon, around blueberry production in the U.S. But, I mean, I think what's the number with Taylor? Is it 80% of the nation's apples or something? Not lettuce, sorry.
Yeah.
Right, and seeing at Grimway just the carrots coming, I mean, mind blown. So it's thinking about refactoring our solutions and offerings so that they can be more portable and more scalable, and then ultimately leading into everything we do is really around how's that data going to flow. And so pushing further on the conversations with these leading organizations, their chief technology officers, their chief data officers, if they don't have one, hey, why don't you have one? Where's your path to a data lake? And tying that in with what we're doing in Microsoft Azure to flow data in and out around geospatial data is key. And then I'll say the last thing is on the US HBC side, we're having some great conversations around driving a data summit with that industry and working with some of their top growers, packers, sales organizations around, hey, how do we better flow data amongst the industry so that we can better work with all the environmental change that we're dealing with and the ebbs and flows so that we can better match production to demand.
So when you look at that, and I look at this at a lot of these types of solutions in the supply chain, like who's your customer then? Who will pay for the product? How do you get revenue?
Yeah, so for us, it largely is larger growers. We also see the investors increasingly that are, Goldman Sachs is an example of one that we've worked with that are buying and are working behind the scenes on some of these farms and are looking at more of this much bigger picture piece on data flow.
Interesting. Huh.
So I would say it's typically your medium to large growers, if you will, and their associated ecosystem, packers and marketing side of things, largely.
And then what does your sales cycle look like? I mean, you said do you go in through technology? Do you go through the CEO? Or like, how do you, I imagine the sales cycle is a little long and it's hard to get people on board to adopt some of these things. What does that look like?
That's so true. Look, I think for us, it's coming in at multiple levels. So I spent a career of 12 years at Microsoft and very much used to working with the C-suite. But my view is always is that we have to be grounded in the realities of what will work in the field. And if you've got data-centric solutions that aren't really tied to ground truths and don't have the confidence of the front line and the managers along with the ownership, then you're not going to be able to execute consistently. And so I struggle with this. It's really boots on the ground, working with the growers that are on the front line, your managers, field managers, and then working with ownership. And then the key is really working with associations, right? And groupings of growers. So whether that's with Driscoll's and this IFPA program, been a mentorship piece that came together where Matt Hoffman with Driscoll's has signed up to be one of our mentors. Love that. And that's been huge in terms of facilitating conversations with your larger entities that now represent lots of growers and sales desks and so on as well. So, but I think in terms of it's start small. Let's start with one piece of the project while having the strategic conversation around how does this ladder up. So what are your key challenges now around soil health, for instance? Where are your key pain points that you're struggling with? Focus on that first while having the C-suite discussions as to, and how do we help with that longer term goal around unlocking more data insights holistically across your organization and your collaborator organizations.
And then how do you, again, from a revenue point of view, I can see that you would end up being consultants,
right?
Like you're just constantly working with people, training people, giving them new features and benefits.
Right.
So what is the revenue model? Are they paying you some sort of monthly retainer or like, how does that work?
So in some cases, we have folk that are putting us, like some of the larger investment funds will put us on retainer and say, hey, can you validate some of these technologies and efficacy of the technology? Because really, we've leaned in hard on technology partnerships that we view and have validated our ground truth kind of gold standard. So one of those, for instance, is Green Atlas. And so it's a mapping technology that can map orchards, vineyards, et cetera, in terms of how many pieces of fruit and the size and the color are on each plant and earlier stage buds and blossoms. And we charge on that on a per acre basis, right? Another one is soil optics. So that's the same thing. It's on a per acre, per year basis. And then another one that we're working really closely with that we are just announcing is called Second Sight Bioscience. And that's actually around digital scales. So it's about actually taking scales, putting them out in the field, and ensuring, again, that the core theme here is data. How do we unlock a consistent data stream from the field to help change those inputs and then end up with a better outcome in terms of quality, right? And so Second Sight Bio makes these digital scales that are connected, and employees or contractors basically badge in. You can now look at what their productivity is in real time. We can flow that in through to payroll. We can benchmark where you compare against other, the broader ecosystem, depersonalized and anonymized, but say the blueberry industry. Like, what does your labor productivity look like in terms of tons per acre and tons per hour of labor? And that's, we charge for that based on, it's literally on a parts and equipment type of thing, but it's largely on a per acre, or in some cases going on a retainer basis.
And then these company partners that you work with,
Yes.
What's the contractual relationship with them, and how do you find them? How do you choose what partners you want to work with? Because it's an endorsement. I mean, you're kind of their
Right.
marketing arm, right?
Right.
So
It's true. So, frankly, we work with a company for a couple of years, typically before we have our coming out party, and saying, okay, we endorse this and we feel confident with this, and we're going to do joint marketing together on it. And so then we end up with a business partnership where typically we're getting a small cut of basically reselling and distributing their product.
very cool model. Well, I could keep going, but we need to start wrapping up. So what do you hope to get out of the show?
Well, I mean, one of the things we were talking about beforehand, I love seeing that you've got some students and young faces that are here that are learning, and, shout out to the student base that's out there. We need you to come to this event, lean in more and share what your insights are, and professors that are out there, get your students out here. And I think part of it for us, it's just, we've had Mission Produce was one that reached out to us. I mean, different companies that we wouldn't have ended up talking to otherwise. So really large producers here. So making some of those connections, having good, deep discussions for follow-up, and learning about the floral industry, for instance, right? And where there are needs there, and pieces that I hadn't even really thought that closely about, but realizing how big of an industry it
Yeah.
truly is. It's amazing.
Great. Well, thanks for being in the program, and it's great talking to you, and have a great show.
Thank you, Vonnie. Good stuff. So glad to be here.
Great. And thanks to our listeners for staying in touch with us and listening to our great conversations. Hello, I'm Vonnie Estes, the Vice President of Innovation at the International Fresh Produce Association, and we're here at the Global Show in Atlanta, and we have this great podcast booth live where we're talking to great companies about great technologies, and just kind of doing quick, short takes on what the new technologies are at the show this year. So with me right now, I have Ty, and I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about yourself and the company and your solution and what you're doing.
Thank you, Vonnie. My name is Ty Sadeh. I'm the founder and CEO of Bluemax. Bluemax provides biomimicking pollination solutions to enhance the natural pollination process by better distributing the pollen mechanically, mimics the natural process of insect interaction with flowers. We're able to support farmers with more controlled and efficient pollination solutions to complement or to replace honeybees or other insects that they use. So the idea is basically to have a mechanical device that they operate. They also have an app that shows them what is the right time to apply the pollination during each day of the flowering season. So what is the fertility window? They get the guidance and support by our technical field operation team. And then throughout the season they operate. Once they finish, hopefully in the harvest they see good results, in yield outcomes, quality and quantity of yields, and then we move forward to a bigger scale. And that's kind of the journey that Bluemax has evolved through the last few years since establishing the company in avocados and blueberries. So working on these specific crops, seeing the value increase year after year in different territories, mainly operating in Peru, Mexico, South Africa, a bit in the US, trying to understand the value here to the growers. And besides that, very exciting developments on the next generation of our robotical developments to enable a larger scale use of our solutions.
So where are you in the commercialization process? Do you have customers? Are you still developing, or what's the stage there?
So we, since very early on, wanted to get the feedbacks from the customers. So
Uh-huh.
working, very early on with customers and kind of iterating with the first products and MVP that we had, seeing the value firsthand since we established the company in 2020. And from there, we validated the technology and started to sell our pollination services in 2022. So we have around 30 customers in those geographies that are increasing year after year in avocados and blueberries. So revenues, and I think in our case, what we are trying to get is yield outcomes better and to show that for the grower, and that process takes several seasons to have consistency in the data points and to convince and have trust in what we provide for the grower. So it's not sufficient to have 1 year positive results. Growers want to see that year after year after year, usually between 2 to 4 years, until they really take it for the full rollout of their orchard.
So you said that you can help them decide when the right time to pollinate is. How do you do that? How do you know?
Yeah, so basically what we understand very early is that flowering have different behavior that's affected by environmental conditions. So we build an algorithm that allows us to understand how environmental conditions affect the flowering behavior. Basically when the flowers are open, closed, when they're receptive, pollen is easily removed and can be triggered, be released. So all the data points around the flowering that basically we need during the season is to get the environmental conditions that are specific to the geolocation that we are going to operate, that gives an operational insight for the grower when to apply it. Because any other time during the day, like human, is just not relevant. So you need to understand what are the guidelines on operation.
And that varies by crop and location
Yeah.
and weather, and all that data goes in.
Exactly, and you have crops that are very complex, like avocados, and you have blueberries, which is a bit less, but in any one, there is the things that you need to fine tune and have a tailor-made algorithm that understand.
And then there's an app that
Yeah, the growers get
notifies
an
them.
app, basically have kind of a focus that for the next coming days you see what are the hours during the day that recommended to go and make the application. And for him, it will be basically the time to set up his team to go and make the application in the field. So saying, hey guys, tomorrow between 10:30 to 2, that will be the hours of operation. So then it can give them the operational insight on when to do that.
So what is one of the biggest challenges that you've faced in commercializing the product? Is it distribution or getting people to understand the value, or what's the challenge?
I mean, there are so many challenges
Yeah.
in establishing a business,
Yeah.
specifically in agriculture and fresh produce, because in our case, you know, being frontier, working with agriculture producers themselves, you are kind of exposed to the environments and stresses that they are exposed to. So at the end, if they are exposed, you're exposed. That affects you as well. So I think understanding where we are and understanding the challenges that growers have, and they have a lot, and be very flexible and minded for introducing your technology and showing the value in the process that you need to take, which is more kind of long term. If I'm going back to the product market fit, it takes a lot of time to really show the value for the grower. It's not 1 year or not one season, it's 2, 3, or 4 seasons until you get recognized by the grower that it's fully convinced. So I think time to convince and time to market, it's a bit long. And that's, I think, the most challenging part that we are facing on today. And yeah, that's where we are. So several years where we are now, I think we are progressing to a point where we have more validation, we have more proof that the technology works. And then we also have now building the tools that will enable us to really scale it once the growers will recognize the ROI and will need tools, kind of an implement that will be attached to a tractor that can make the application automatically. So then it will be a no-brainer because they recognize the value and then have tools to do that.
You were in our Freshfield Catalyst Accelerator program last year, not the current program. Can you talk a little bit about, and it's interesting because you've got a full year to kind of reflect, but what some of the advantages were of being in the program and some of the benefits that you got out of being in the program?
Well, I think there was several. First, you know, having the immersion week where we started to really get perspective on the fresh produce industry. For me, it was a really meaningful week to understand different points on the value chain, different players and how they think, and that introduction was very meaningful. Not only specifically for California and the US, but I mean, because it has a global perspective, global connections to other places as well, I found it very meaningful a week. I think the connections throughout the problem, you know, high-level executives that can mentor you from various aspects, you know, and having that network more accessible for early stage startup like us, it gives a lot in focus and the good advices that you need. So understanding better your markets and where you operate from that network, and your peers, which at the end, you know, having the same challenges as you. I think that gives you also a lot of people to kind of discuss, network, and understand how to solve different challenges that they face as well. So, you know, having that along the journey, I think it's quite helpful. And we were very happy to be part of the program.
Great. And this is your first time at the show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think so far? It just opened, the show floor just opened. You were
Yeah.
just down there. What's
I
it
mean,
like?
Very exciting. It's kind of a festival of fresh produce and very colorful. We are here, you know, to strengthen our relationship with customers, with existing customers, and open some new doors as well. And really looking forward for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exciting. I haven't been on the
Exciting.
floor yet, but
Yeah,
just
very
the
exciting.
buzz is exciting. So many people. So
Yeah.
well, great. Thank you so much for stopping by the booth, and it's great to see you here at the show. And I wish you best of luck and lots of new customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Vonnie, for inviting me.
And thanks to our listeners for keeping in touch with us and listening to more stories and great companies. Hello, and welcome to Your Takes on Tech. I'm Vonnie, Estes, Vice President of Innovation, International Fresh Produce. And we are at the Global Show in Atlanta. And we're live, we've got people walking by, the show is in full swing. And on these podcasts, we get to talk to interesting people about interesting technologies. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Michael, and introduce yourself.
Well, thank you very much, Vonnie. A real pleasure to be here, very excited. So I'm Michael Salvador. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Mirai Solar. And Mirai Solar is primarily a solar energy company. We develop, say, a unique type of photovoltaics of solar energy, which is photovoltaic shading. So we try to come in and replace passive shades in agriculture with photovoltaically enhanced shading so that people, customers, can actually capitalize on their shading and block sunlight to generate electricity.
Where are you in the customers? Are you testing?
Yes, so we are still pre-commercial. We are developing the technology. We are running pilots with multiple entities. We actually, which is might be interesting for the audience, we came out of Saudi Arabia at the given moment in time of their lives. We were all in Saudi, and so we spun the company out of a local university there. We received generous funding, I would say, which helped us expand in different areas, including the US. So we are running pilots at the moment with customers and with researchers. One maybe interesting example is a system that we just finished in California with the university called the South Center Recreational Site, where actually people can come and visit and see how the system looks like.
Where is it?
It's in Irvine.
Okay.
It's called SCREC.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and so we are at the stage where we are demonstrating the technology, as I was saying, with research institutions, customers, and achieving product certification as part of our commercialization process.
So what's the biggest benefit to a customer? Is it the energy that's produced? Is it the benefit to the crop underneath it? What are the biggest benefits?
Yes, so shading is quite ubiquitously used in agriculture, so that's the benefit per se for the crop, to protect the crop from excessive sunlight. And yeah, as you can imagine, if you can make use of the blocked sunlight to generate electricity locally, you can use that clean electricity to reduce the cost associated with farming, production, processing of food as well, and thereby reducing the carbon footprint of agricultural in a broad sense, I would say.
And do you need to be crop specific, or does what crops have you looked at, and what seems to work the best?
Yes. So as you can imagine, it works best with crops that like shade.
Yeah.
So you would not put this necessarily under a tomato, I would say, but it works very well with greeny leaves, with lettuce, with herbs. We are exploring grapes as well. We have one system in a vineyard in Germany at the moment that we're exploring, and even vineyards in the US seem to be interested. Generally speaking, crops that like shading. Berries is a very good example, actually. Berries is a market we are currently trying to understand if there's potential need and also benefit for the industry.
And does it work in any kind of covered structure? You don't have to build a greenhouse around this, right? You can go in and retrofit?
Correct. So that's a very good point. We actually started with greenhousing, where we would simply come in and replace the existing shade, which is usually horizontal, and install ours instead. A very simple drop-in solution, I would say, where we remove the old shade, put in our shade using the same system, so the same retraction system, the same motorization and control, which is very neat. But we don't have to do it indoors. We actually have been doing it outdoors as well. In that case, we would have to build a structure.
Okay, so you would build like a frame.
Exactly, like a frame type structure. It's a hanging mechanism, so very different, I should say, that from a conventional solar panel. Imagine you have a U-shaped structure
and several feet apart. You repeat that structure, and you pull wires in between, and so the panels will then hang on those wires and slide on those wires, so that you can open and close them on demand, so that you can give the plants the light that they actually need.
So what's the return on investment to a grower in an outside situation? Do they get higher yields? Is it the electricity that they get? How do you figure the ROI?
So in terms of yields, I would say as long as they use the shading in the same way as their conventional shading, I would expect, and that's what we see, the yield remains the same. So there's no benefit in terms of yield, I would say. The benefit is obviously from the electricity generation.
Yeah.
And that depends heavily on the cost of electricity locally. It's heavily dependent on the state where you are. California is, for example, a scenario that we like, because cost of electricity is higher than elsewhere. So we are looking at payback times around 4 or 5 years, which is very similar to a conventional PV system.
Yeah. Do you see a greater need for your product with all the pressures of climate change? Do you think that we're going to see places where it's hotter and maybe the sun's more intense, or for maybe longer of the year, and so your product kind of fits in as a solution so we can continue to grow where we might not be able to?
Yes, that's exactly the case. We are looking primarily and seeing main benefits in hot climates and in climates that are suffering from excessive heat at the moment, and that we believe the technology will help reduce the stress on the plant. So it will have a dual benefit. It will help the plants, and it will help extend the harvest as well.
Excellent. So your company was part of our Freshfield Catalyst Accelerator program this year. Can you talk a little bit about some of the benefits to the company and how, if this was a good thing for you to be involved in?
Yes, I think it was excellent, and I also think that the main benefits are yet to come, I believe. We will harvest all the information and all the connections that we made in the future, I believe. It was very good, as you can imagine, for a company that comes from a field that is very different from the field that we actually want to penetrate with the technology. So we are solar guys, solar engineers that want to generate and create a product for the agricultural field. And so we have to make those connections, and for that purpose, the program was excellent. I remember, and I still, working on with our mentor. He has been excellent in, making those connections for us, identifying, main markets and markets that could be of primary use for us, and that we should explore according to his guidance. So I would say main help at the moment in terms of networking, in terms of connections, in terms of finding the right people with the right mindset, with our mindset, that understand the value of renewable energy and of sustainability, obviously.
And this is the first time you've been to the show, I assume?
Very first time.
So what do you think? You just opened this morning, you're down on the floor?
We were here yesterday as well, and so we had a glimpse. It's fantastic. Primarily, as I was saying, it will be a day where we will try to mainly go from booth to booth, introduce our technology, see where we think they are the best fits, and look for those people with the same mindset as us, and that hopefully want to try the technology. That would be the main outcome for us would be to find businesses that see benefits for their businesses and would like to try it with us.
Great. Well, thanks for being here, and I hope you have great success in the show, and thanks for being part of the accelerator as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was very exciting so far. Thank you very much.
Great, and thanks to our listeners for listening to another episode of Short Takes on Tech. Hello, I'm Vonnie Estes, the Vice President of Innovation for the International Fresh Produce Association, and we're here at the Global Show in Atlanta. And I'm very excited about this particular conversation. This is one of the ones I've been looking forward to. So we're doing short 10-minute conversations with exciting, interesting people from exciting, interesting companies on the podcast for Short Takes on Tech. So this particular conversation is with Jenny from Taylor Farms, and Taylor Farms just won the IFPA Science and Technology Circle of Excellence Award for the launch of the plant-based tray. So we're very excited within IFPA in looking for new packaging solutions, and so we're so excited about the work that you all are doing, and we're so glad to give you this award. So the plant-based tray preserves the freshness and convenience while decreasing the use of plastics, which is the type of innovation that we're looking for. And to give you a little orientation of what the award is, so this is a yearly award that we give based on member input and then a panel within the company to decide what's the best technology. So the award recognizes an organization or an individual that solves business challenges within the produce industry through the application of scientific and technological advances to create better products, processes, or value to our customers. So it's a pretty amazing recognition of the work that you all are doing, and so congratulations, and it's great to have you. And Jenny, I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself, and then we'll start talking about the product.
Thank you, Vonnie. My name is Jenny Panziera. I am Director of Product for Earthbound Farm Brand and Organic Salads at Taylor Farms. I'm honored to be here today to have this conversation about the plant-based tray. It's been 5 years of investment and innovation, and we've just had a great team involved, and we've had customers along that journey as well. And it's just been it's been a long road to get here, longer than we thought. You know, I think that
as it goes with innovation.
Right. I think some of there are a lot of optimists in our organization. I think some of the optimists were thinking it was going to be more like a year, and here we are 5 years later. But we have packed in so many great learnings during that time frame, and we're really excited. We've been deliberate about when to release this to consumers, and so we're really happy to be here today, and thank you for having me.
Great. I have so many questions. So
Okay, good.
let's start with what is, if someone was looking at the tray, what would it look like, and what products are in it?
Okay, so the first thing that cues, in my opinion, is natural. So the tray itself is made from plant-based fibers, so you're seeing something that's more like paperboard. And then we're leveraging a breathable plastic film that is basically that combination to make this packaging is what's housing our leafy greens. So this package has been specifically designed to house our leafy green products. And right now we have it in 2 varieties. So we have spring mix and spinach that we've been market testing. And then we're going to release additional sizes and varieties in 2025, in early 2025.
So you're doing a pilot launch now, is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
So we've been doing it since this summer. So there've been so many phases to this. So first of all, there's been about 5,000 trials of this package behind the scenes over the years. And then we also put it out to our own internal teams in different parts of the country, just collecting feedback throughout this process too. Really, it's, we've had thoughts around what the barriers could be for consumers, and wanted to make sure, kind of gut check that really, and see what is the feedback and response. And so then we got to a point where we said, we want to get this out there. We have the Earthbound Farm brand, which is the brand that this product is being offered in, we have a farm stand. So basically, it's tied to the birthplace of really the brand of Earthbound Farm. It's in Carmel Valley, California. And so we have a farm stand there. And so it's kind of our little incubator store that we get like a first read from our loudest and most loyal consumers. So we put it in the farm stand, got some feedback there. That was April. We timed that with Earth Month because it just felt right to do it around Earth Month, the more sustainable, eco-friendly package. And then we rolled it out in market tests this summer. So we had some customers that were willing to take that journey with us. So we had Whole Foods roll it out in the summer, and then we also had Sprouts, and then a some of our independent retailer partners. So really focused on the West Coast just to get it in market. So mainly California, but also some stores in Washington, Oregon, and Arizona.
So then how do you get feedback on, or is it just like if
yeah.
people buy it, that's the feedback?
Well,
Is
that's great feedback. We
Yeah.
absolutely are looking at sales and looking at how that's performing. We're talking to our sales team to understand, and from boots on the ground in the stores, their feedback from the customers directly, and then from a consumer standpoint, which is critical. We want to make sure the whole impetus for developing this package was we knew that consumers, there is demand for more eco-friendly packaging out there. It might not be for everyone, but especially in the organic space with the organic consumer, there's been several requests for packaging that uses less plastic as an option. So to answer your question about how we're getting that read on that, we have our customer service line. So we have a freshness guarantee on all our packaging. And so there's a way to reach us to let us know if consumers are not happy. And then we also, through our social media channels too, we're looking there and seeing what kind of sentiment we're seeing from consumers, especially younger consumers that are more vocal and can be more vocal in those spaces. So it's a combination of those, really, like the sales piece, customer feedback, and consumer feedback from those different channels.
So what are you hearing?
We're optimistic. We're hearing great things so far. I will tell you one thing that we were a little unsure about and we needed to kind of get a read on was, are consumers going to care that they can't see all of the greens in the package? Is that going to be
So if you
the barrier?
If you lift it up on the bottom, can you see?
No, the way you can see the greens, and it's displayed on shelf so if it's in our 5-ounce size, it's usually vertical, and then when we launch the 8-ounce size, it'll be probably in the well. So you see the plastic and the graphics on the branding, but then you can see the rim of the tray. So you can see that there's paperboard, that there's something different about this packaging. And then if you pick it up and look at it, you can only see the greens through the top.
Okay.
So whereas today, consumers are used to being able to flip over the bag, the tray, and kind of inspect it.
That's where I look.
Scrutinize it.
Especially in airports if I'm buying a salad.
Right.
It's like holding it up. What's the bottom look?
So what we're hearing from consumers is nothing about that.
Oh,
what we're
great.
hearing is, thank you for doing this. You didn't have to do this, but you did. We hear some consumers saying, when are you going to move everything to this? And I can talk about that later. That's not an easy thing to do or an immediate thing. It's a lot of thank you for doing this and thank you for this option. And
Is the price point the same? Did you have to?
no, it's a premium. The material that we are utilizing to have this more sustainable option is more expensive. So the material that the tray is made of is naturally sourced fibers from trees, and so recycled plant fibers, if you will. So there's absolutely a premium for it, but it's a choice for consumers that want to make that, purchase. And when we did research about 4 years ago, looking into this type of concept and the premium that consumers were willing to pay, 84% of consumers said that they were interested in this product and would be willing to pay a premium.
And they are. I mean, a lot of
And
times
they are
consumers say
in
they
the
will
market
and they
test.
aren't.
Yeah,
but they are.
I'm sure that it's going to vary based on, the store and kind of the consumers, but it's absolutely, we're finding that it's driving incremental growth from a sales standpoint where it's featured, and consumers are, I would say, pleased that it's an option.
And then what's the afterlife? And is the tray compostable?
So that's really tricky. I've been learning a lot about that from our sustainability team and our packaging team. It's H2R recyclable, and so paperboard fiber is more likely to be recycled than even recycled plastic and recyclable plastic. So the compostability, we're pursuing different certifications for that. There's not one standard in the U.S. for home compostable, but we're absolutely
So
pursuing.
in California, it goes into the blue bin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the top as well?
Yes.
The top is
The top
recyclable?
you discard, so take the plastic off, discard.
Okay.
Can't recycle that. But then you've got the tray that is more likely to be recycled than plastic, and it's made from materials that are obviously more sustainable.
And And is there any drop in freshness? Because I know
No.
that's something that's so important to Taylor Farms.
No, thank you for bringing that up. There's so many things to talk about with
Yeah.
this product, so no, there's not. So basically that was really a core requirement for us, was to match that shelf life and that product quality of the plastic packaging counterpart. And so it's the same, it's P+16.
Oh, excellent. So you said you've been working on it for 5 years. That's the whole.
And I
Wait.
personally have not been
Well,
working
the-
on it for
the
5 years,
organization,
so I
yeah.
just want to let you know there's
Yeah.
there's a lot of people involved, and I would list all their names if I could, but yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But I mean, we getting away from trying to find alternatives to plastics has really come into our view at IFPA just in the last couple of years as the regulations around the world have really changed, and we realized that we need to have some different solutions for this. And so I've started to get more involved, and of course my boss Max is super involved in it. And we're this accelerator that I run, we've been focusing in the accelerator on climate smart ag. And so I've had 3 years of companies that have solutions for climate smart ag. Next year, the accelerator is gonna focus on finding technologies for this exact issue of what are we gonna do with packaging going forward. And all sorts of different, looking at, do we need to more compostables? Do we need, different types of PLU stickers? Like, do we need other kinds of coatings? Like, all different kinds. And so, if anyone's listening to this and has a solution, let me know. But 5 years ago, I was not thinking about this at all. So what kind of started Earthbound and Taylor Farms to think about we need to get on this? Because it wasn't very loud 5 years ago.
No, and you brought something up that that I want to mention too. That one of the big differences with this tray versus other trays that may look similar to it is there is no plastic liner, so it's a plastic-free tray. At the coating, there's a coating that's a food-grade coating, so that in itself is a unique differentiator for this packaging, specifically for leafy greens. And then in terms of, remind me your question one more time, sorry.
Is what got you started to start working on it and thinking that this was a problem that needed to be solved before there was a lot of pull for it?
I think that that goes back to, in terms of our company and what's important to us, innovation is just core to who we are, but also I think being stewards of the land and trying to lessen our environmental impact, where we can, while still achieving the goal that we're all here to achieve, which is increasing the consumption of fresh produce. So it started a few years ago. My understanding is that basically a combination of Bruce's youngest son, Bruce, coming back with an idea around a sustainable package, and then our packaging team really kind of already having some ideas as well. And then the Earthbound brand had been acquired by Taylor Farms in 2019, and core to Earthbound is sustainable innovation. So I think it was kind of a combination of those variables that got us to pursuing that type of packaging that far in advance, I would say.
And what were some of the challenges that you hear the technical people talk about that took longer, made it harder, or it's just difficult?
Yes, okay. This is a favorite topic because we're not all the way, we're going to continue. We have this packaging today, and we're going to look at additional sizes, and then we're going to continue looking for, we have thousands of products, of fresh produce products. Taylor Farms spans multiple divisions in terms of the types of products we offer, from servicing food service operators to quick service restaurants, fast casual restaurants, retailers, as big as they come, club stores to your neighborhood market. So we're going to be looking for additional sizes and variations of this type of packaging, and where it does make sense versus maybe it doesn't.
Yeah. So what were some of the technical challenges when they looked at, okay, we're not going to use plastic anymore? They had to find the plant-based tray.
Yes, so part of it was finding that tray, right? And that.
Do you know if was that developed in-house, or did they find a vendor? Or?
No, we found a vendor, a partner supplier, and then it was the iterations around their team working with our R&D team. So we spent a lot of time in terms of trialing how do we get the produce to live in this environment. So leafy greens, depending on the variety, and the combination that we're putting in the package, they require different environments to survive. So in terms of the design of that tray, you know, even something from the angles to the depth to the actual structural design to that coating, to how the coating's applied, you know, all of those variables, and then testing, shelf life testing. So our R&D team actually doing the shelf life testing of these different products in the tray, and then basically looking at how much moisture is left in the tray and what adjustments do we make with the supplier based on that, so that we're ultimately, you know, you're not opening the package and there are soggy greens inside or dried out greens inside. So how do we control that environment in there through the design of the tray and the coating that complements it? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about the culture at Taylor Farms. I've been really fortunate enough to meet people in all different parts of the organization and in different functions and different roles and different products. And what amazes me is how consistent the culture is across the whole organization, of people saying, talking about innovation, and that they feel very free to try all sorts of new things, and that there isn't punishment for failure, and that there's really just this, we need to keep innovating and trying new things. And it's amazing for a company that size. I've never seen it, actually. So talk a little bit about that, especially you kind of came in from the outside, and like, what does that look like to you, and how do you keep a culture like that going?
I love that you asked that question. So I will tell you that what you've observed is how I feel about our company as well. I think that it really goes back to, well, first of all, you're right. There's a lot of autonomy, and then there's a high tolerance for risk too. So it really is, innovation is just a constant thought and consideration and part of how we operate. We know that it's forward. We have to go forward. Our job's not done. You know, we have a lot of work to do, and so I think that it comes back to the culture. I love that we have our employee handbook is 3 bullets, which I'm grateful for because I can digest information better when it's short and concise like that. But no, so it's take care of the customer. So it always goes back to our customers, and Taylor Farms was founded 29 years ago, so we've built some amazing relationships with customers over those years. And so taking care of the customer is critical, and that's been number one since the company started, and it doesn't change, which I love. The second one is take care of each other. And so there's this, you know, really there's definitely a spirit around, I think, just a team, but also everyone's empowered to drive forward and to innovate and to problem solve, but at the same time, take care of your team, take care of each other. And then the last one is do the right thing. So just kind of wraps it up with do the right thing, and we trust you, you know, as someone that we brought into the team to do the right thing. Yeah. So I think that's the culture in a nutshell. It hasn't changed since I've started there. I've been with the company for 7 years now, and I've worked in different departments and with different teams. But there are so many people. One of my favorite questions to ask when I meet people from, you know, different facilities or teams within our organization is, how long have you worked at Taylor Farms? Because sometimes it's 27 out of those 29 years, or 20 out of those 29 years, and then as the team continues to grow and grow, it's just
adding on new people.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, and that is and everyone that I've talked to within the organization can name those 3 bullet points, and that's unusual as well, you know, that people have the core values so much as part of who they are, and, you know, everyone can say them, and it's much better than having a paragraph mission statement that people have to stumble over words and can't remember, but that's very clear. So I love that.
They're guiding principles, and I think they're very clear and energizing.
So as we wrap up, what's next? What's the plan for expansion and launch into different products, and kind of what's that pacing going to look like?
Specific to the plant-based tray?
Yeah.
So we come early 2025, so Q1 2025, we will be launching, so we'll actually be rolling out the plant-based tray. So it's on display today at our booth prominently, so we're showcasing it. We're so excited to share it with everyone here at IFPA, and we will be launching So we'll have a total set of 4 varieties in our 5-ounce tray, and then we'll have 2 varieties in the 8-ounce tray. And so they'll be available for distribution.
Excellent.
And then we're going to keep working. So that's just, that's the first wave, if you will. And then what we'll continue to do is we'll be continuing to trial different product varieties within that tray, because as I was saying,
They all act differently.
they all act differently, and we aren't going to limit ourselves to these varieties, right? So we're going to continue to pursue additional varieties, but it's again, we're just trying to meet consumers with where they are and what they want, and so as many choices as we can give them in the plant-based tray, we will, and then we'll look for the next solution too. We're always looking for the next solution.
So do you have other innovations in the pipeline around packaging that you're working on?
Always. Yes, always. There's always many irons in the fire. And then because another thing is it's sizing. It could be the packaging format. It could be the actual product itself. We have other products that, other innovation not related to the tray, where basically, for example, we have some, in Earthbound Farm brand, we have our avocado oil salad kit. So we're innovating there in terms of how do we use a healthier oil. We know there are some consumers that are kind of averse to seed oils, so how do we use a healthier oil to provide that option for those consumers that are interested in it? And then we have so many things that we're sharing. But yes, and then we're always looking at the film as well too, like what other options do we have in terms of the film that we're using, and how we can have more environmentally friendly options there.
Well, Jenny, thanks for being here, and congratulations on the award and the wonderful
Thank you.
work that you do. And I look forward to continuing to see new packaging innovation and all the other innovation you guys do. So thank you very much for being
Thank
here.
you very much. It was great to be here.
Great. Thanks to our listeners and viewers for watching this very exciting episode and hearing about our Circle of Excellence Award. Hello and welcome to Short Takes on Tech. I'm Vonnie Estes, the Vice President of Innovation at the International Fresh Produce Association. And we are at the Global Show in Atlanta, and there's people buzzing all around, and the show is open, and it's a very exciting time. We're doing these short podcasts where I get to talk to companies that are doing really innovative things in the industry and hear about what they're doing and what their experience is here at the show. So with that, Ophir, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself and the company.
Hello, Vonnie. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here. I'm Ophir Daube, VP Product and Regulation at Sufresca. Sufresca is a young startup specializing in edible coatings made entirely of natural ingredients to extend the shelf life of fresh fruits and vegetables post-harvest. And I'm very happy to be here, part of the acceleration program.
Great. So what where are you in the commercialization process? Do you have product out with customers? Are you still trialing? Where are you in that stage?
We are piloting.
You're piloting.
The idea is the product is applied the same way that fruit waxing is applied, but on commodities that don't have any solution nowadays, like peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, but also to replace synthetic agrochemicals for more common commodities like citrus fruits. We are doing pilots, shipment, industrial application, and shipments to the customer on citrus. For example, shipments to Europe to replace the synthetic fungicides with a natural product, 2-in-1 edible coating that not only slows down aging, decay, and so forth, but it gives the same results, if not better, as the traditional fungicide that are incorporated nowadays in waxes because to reduce mold. So no limitation on use, it's completely edible, it is regulated as food. So especially in Europe where they have problem with more strict regulation on agrochemicals, on use of fungicides, on maximum residue levels, we solve that problem altogether. And it is applicable also on vegetables. Now we are doing pilots on mini cucumbers in Baja California.
Oh, that would be fabulous.
It is fabulous. Some really surprising results. They have all kind of, it's not only the pathogens of common fungus that we know, they have some kind of infection that after a few days there's some kind of slime on the cucumber.
I've experienced that in my refrigerator.
Well, we postponed that. We gave at least 5 more days to the mini cucumbers. We still don't know why.
Wow, that's
but
amazing.
it's an exciting new product.
How is it applied?
Well, it's exactly the same way like fruit waxing. It's just spraying and brushing, but you don't need heating, especially in vegetables where it's really not a good idea to heat the vegetable.
So is it in like a processing line, or do you do it in the field, or where is the application?
Well, good question. Well, the first product is for post-harvest. In the case of citrus, they apply the mix of wax and fungicides at the end of the processing line before packaging. We replace that, the combination, and the same sprayer, brushes, no need for heating. In the case of specialty vegetables, we have a working prototype of machine that works exactly the same on the same principle. Just normally those kind of facilities don't have any kind of apparatus to apply. And it dries instantly in ambient temperature. So it's just brushes, brush bed and a sprayer, really minimum amount. It's a liter, 0.5 to coat a ton, depends on the apparatus normally. And now we are also going to start, we're working towards starting a project in Ethiopia to apply it in the field.
Oh, wow.
Because it's so easy to apply. Normally when we do trials, we do it by hand.
Yeah.
It's just a drop of formulation, it's water-based emulsion. Technologically speaking, you only need 1 micron on the coating. When you look in a microscope, you can see the cells, unlike traditional waxes that you don't see. The wax is a very thick layer. Ours very thin. You can see the cells on the cuticle.
So in the field, would they spray it like with a sprayer, or is it in the water that they wash with? Or?
It's going to be like very low-tech apparatus that we came up with. It's really cool, but it will take place between the harvest and just when dumping it into the drum to collect it.
Okay.
That will be the point of application for the small farmers where they don't have packing houses. There are no infrastructures, there is nothing. So we aim for our product to be truly applicable anywhere by anyone.
And what's your commercialization strategy? Will you sell through distributors or
Yes.
you? Yes, okay.
Exactly the same way that agrochemical are sold to packing houses nowadays. Nothing new, the same way, the same standard pricing, the same way of application. We are not introducing any disruptions in that manner.
What's the biggest challenge when you go to talk to someone to trial or you talk to distributors? What's the biggest challenge for people to try the product?
Well, the biggest challenge would be introducing, well, if you're talking about vegetables, introducing new machinery
Ah, okay.
to the packing house. It normally takes a few cycles. We do a trial, it's very small, but there's such high variability between fruits and vegetables, even in the same packing house, different greenhouses, you get a bit different results. The added value is constant. But what is the added value depends on how the fruit or vegetables, how they start their lives. So it takes a few trials, and then you need to subject the trial to the real supply chain, and then the pilot, introducing a new machine to the operation. That would be a challenge. In citrus, it will be easier. It's a bit, well, the market is dominated by the traditional conventional products, waxes and fungicides. But for long maritime shipments or shipments to Europe, there is such a great need. There the challenge is even lower. Everybody is looking for a solution.
So you were in our Fresh Field Catalyst Accelerator program, as you mentioned. Can you tell me your impressions of that and what some of the tangible benefits were for you to be in the program?
First of all, it was fun. We started in the Immersion Week, and I learned a lot. It's not just about, we at Fresca, our coating, we started with peppers when it was a university project. But now our portfolio is much bigger, different vegetables, different fruits. So learning about the supply chain, agro practices of all fresh produce is very important for us. Actually, it's my job as a VP product. We learned a lot about leafy greens, about adoption of technology, which was the main idea in the program. And I was very happy to learn the willingness and the openness and the possibilities of adopting and trying new technologies by potential customers, by growers, by different brands. And the program really introduced us to all kind of different point of views, retailers, processing facilities, because as we are always looking to see how we can help. We are trying to make a business case. We need to see where the problem is, how our solution can be applied, and in that sense, the program really contributed immensely.
Great.
to our mind.
So now we're here at the show. What do you think of the show? You've had half a day on the floor since it's
Yes.
opened, and what's it been like for you?
Well, it's very interesting. It's really hustling and bustling. And the show is a really good place for us as it focuses on fresh produce. We have all the major brands here learning about new technologies, new collaborations. Also, speaking of the program, it really gives a platform for new collaborations. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. It's been a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the day and tomorrow. The sessions, the different conversation I've been attending are very interesting. I'm really happy to hear that the focus is shifting towards packaging and sustainability, and it's getting more attention. This is
Definitely.
exactly our sphere.
Right?
Everybody's coming. It's the only place where you can meet everybody at the same place.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, I'm happy to have you here, and thanks for being in the program. And
Thank you,
I
Vonnie.
enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks to our listeners and watchers for hanging in for another episode, and we'll see you soon. So, I'm Vonnie Estes, the Vice President of Innovation at the International Fresh Produce Association, and we're here at the Global Show in Atlanta, and I get to do these amazing podcasts, short takes on tech to talk to great companies about what they're passionate about. And so, I have two guests on this one. For 10 minutes, it means we all have to talk fast. But I have two guests from AgriFresh, and so I'm really excited for them to share with you the number of product offerings that you have to benefit customers in this industry. So I will turn it over to you to introduce yourselves and then a little background on the company, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having us. My name is Rodrigo Cifuentes. I'm the Commercial Director for North America.
And I'm Bradford Warner. I'm the Global Head of Digital and Data.
Excellent. Rodrigo, do you want to talk a little bit about AgriFresh?
Absolutely. AgriFresh is a company that's been around for 25 years. Many people are familiar with the Smart Fresh technology, the 1MCP technology that helps protect fruits, vegetables, and flowers from ethylene, extending the shelf life, the appeal, and the eating quality for days to weeks, or even up to a month in the case of apples. The company started many years ago being part of Roman Haas. Today is an independent company and has been growing a lot beyond 1MCP and Smart Fresh technology today, including digital solutions as well. We are in a number of different crops. We're in South America, North America, Asia, Europe. We help protect apples, pears, different fruits, vegetables, stone fruits, cherries. It's a very diverse portfolio of chemical solutions, application technology, and more recently we're adding a lot of digital and sensing technologies as well.
You want to talk a little bit about some of the digital solutions?
Absolutely, Vonnie. I've been doing agricultural technology for about 12 years or so now. And within that time, I spent a lot in the broadacre sector, so dealing with wheat and corn and soybeans, potatoes, quinoa, et cetera. And what you often saw was maybe a loss in that sector of maybe 3 to 6% of a crop before it would actually make it to its final destination, whether it was for food processing, retail, or energy. Here in fresh produce, when I really started to examine these supply chains a few years ago, I was stunned to learn that that was about 10x that level here. We are often seeing 30, 40, 50% of the gross crop never actually make it to the plate somewhere. And so when you think of the implications to that in terms of lost opportunity for nutrition, to address hunger, and of course, most primarily above all that, climate change, because the greenhouse gas emissions, right, of all these crops that aren't making it to where they could be used are enormous. And so that really became a strong motivator for me to say there's so much technology being developed around the world today that many industries have embraced, whether that was Internet of Things or sensing or sensor-based technology, software as a service or analytics that were helping you turn data into insights so you can do something with that. There was a huge opportunity in fresh produce to start making a difference, not like years from now, but like right now to do that. So we've really started building an ecosystem around a really good software product we already had called FreshCloud. It was well known for being really the leader in post-harvest when it came to quality and storage management. And now we're growing that out both upstream into even pre-harvest applications that we're announcing here at IFPA, and then downstream into actually tracking that to where it needs to be at its final destination. So putting digital into really concrete, pragmatic frameworks to the benefit of the growers, the packers, the retailers, and ultimately the consumer.
So what I love about AgriFresh, I've been aware of the company for a long time, but as you were saying, just the whole evolution of to Roman Haas to Dow to crazy public company to private company, and then the continued innovation that you've had. So I think it's a really amazing company, and a company like AgriFresh doesn't live unless there's continuous innovation, because the old chemicals go away, you have to come up with new things. So how did you make this move? You know, continuing to make the chemical products that are necessary and the market depends on.
Right.
But how was the decision to really start moving into digital made? I mean, you say you saw that there was an issue, but then how did you get the company going and get the resources to really invest in that?
So I think when you look at some of the innovators who have grown things through what we would call an ecosystem, is that you don't have to deploy massive amounts of capital to build everything your own or go buy that. So when you think of what Apple has done with the Apple Store over time, like they've created an entire ecosystem that now makes Apple devices what they are today, because you have really good innovative programmers developing these applications. Salesforce, right, started as a CRM system, and now has grown itself into one of the enterprise class systems that are used around the world. AgroFresh had really that similar opportunity because we're in 53 countries, serving 13 different crops, really a bedrock blue chip type company in a lot of those packing operations to say, we can really go out there, Vonnie, and help evaluate a lot of technology that is maturing to say that our clients shouldn't have to take the risk on bleeding edge of something that they may or may not work and they feel like they're a guinea pig on, but allow us to run a really strong diligence process and pick the best of the best. So when something's brought in, it's an external innovation is the way we would call it, but that way that company has a chance to grow as part of us, and it's good for both of us.
If I could add something else, I
Yeah.
think that it's very important. You cannot fix something if you cannot measure it. So when we look at the post-harvest systems as a whole, it's not about certain products, certain technologies, how you look at the entire system, understand where the issues are. So by adding sensing technologies and digital technology help understand what the problems are and how you can characterize it, help us also how can we improve the use of our technology, especially products, chemical products, to improve the efficacy and get better results ultimately for that customer once you understand what is driving the losses in their supply chain system. So I think there's a great marriage between using digital sensing technologies, equipment, and products to maximize that protection of freshness and quality and certainly help reduce waste.
So how did you, when you started looking at some of these technologies, and you've brought some technologies in by acquisition, right? You've acquired a couple companies.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So did you start out with, you went to your current customers and said, we're gonna look and see how this works, or we're gonna try, did you try to sell it right away, or did you work with them and not like a guinea pig, but like kind of product development?
It's a great question because obviously there are people in venture capital who are always looking to do that, right? Research and invest in the best companies that have promise and turn it into something. So I would say, Vonnie, part of our process is similar to that, but you're testing the technical readiness of it. You're putting it, to Rodrigo's point, in real world applications to see does it actually deliver strong, replicatable, reproducible results to what it's doing. And then you're trying to look at the actual, I would say, connectivity of that data, right? Is it truly expressible and shareable so that we put it into a cloud framework where you can start to apply machine learning, for example, to do things that might actually be predictive for our clients down the road. So we do a lot of that diligence process, but probably the latest thing that we introduced here in the last year are really putting together what we call proof of concept projects. So there are folks here today at IFPA who we've worked with specifically in different supply chains in the world to say, all right, let's deal with your avocado problem, or let's deal with your maturity problem on bananas, or let's deal with a situation you have relative to berry firmness. And we can look into, as Rodrigo suggested, is it a sensor problem? Is it a measurement problem? And then actually address that in a way that the customer says, perfect, we've now shaped that into something that I will pay for because it has a positive return on investment.
Part of the benefit of working with our customers on a daily basis, being in their packing houses and their facilities, that you learn what their issues are. So we have a pretty good idea based on our global teams on what's going on with the customers with specific industries. So when new technologies come, to our attention, either through partnerships or acquisitions, we have a pretty good idea of what benefits could be for customers. So that creates a very good partnership, and customers always want to be trying things with us so they can learn and adopt it to their systems or operations as soon as possible. So it really helps to move it very fast.
Yeah. Do you think you'll continue to grow and expand the company through acquisition? Is that part of the strategy of looking at new companies? And
Correct. I think that, we certainly have a great ecosystem of collaboration. So we have a number of collaborations that are not acquisitions. We're working on different companies to bring their technologies into AgroFresh global customer base. We're always looking at partnerships or investments or acquisitions of new technologies that we can bring to that global customer. So yes, all of the above.
yeah, in looking at, I work with a lot of startups, and as you know, startups are going through a rough patch right now trying to get funding. But when you look at how to get technology to a customer base, I think companies like yours and the size of yours, that you can also kind of take a risk. Like, you don't have to make a bunch of money off of something immediately, because you have revenue that's being generated someplace else. So I think it's really exciting to see an innovative company like yours, out there looking to bring technology in, because we want to solve these problems. And that's the point.
No, it's really well said, Vonnie. I think when you look at a startup, what are their core competencies, right? And they're technologists, and that you need to give them the time and space to innovate in such a way they bring something forth to market that works. But they're typically not sales, they're not marketing, they're not all the other organs it requires to scale an organization, and learn how to handle currency transfers and logistics and all the things to get a product into Argentina or New Zealand or Turkey to do that. Obviously, AgroFresh is a commercial entity that's built to do that. So I think for tech companies, it's a real win-win, to put them in this ecosystem and get them to market.
And do you sell through distributors, or do you have your own sales force, or how does...
Depends on the market and the crops. In many places we sell direct, so our customers are the end users, packing houses for the most part. In other locations in the world, depending on the crop, the number of solutions that we have, we use distributors as well. So we have a hybrid model.
I know our time is coming up here, and I know there's so much more to talk about the company, but is there a couple of points you want to make to make sure that people that are listening know about AgroFresh? Anything else you want
Maybe
to
to
add?
leave with a concrete example. I often think Vonnie helps people take all this, sometimes corporate speak, and put it into a really concrete framework. So I give Rodrigo tremendous credit in helping us think through a use case that's impacting a lot of people who are here today at the show, which is being able to look at pre-harvest maturity and quality and do it in such a fashion that you time your harvest properly. You know the chemistry that can be offered, something like Harvista, to help regularize that, but you're able to use sensing technology to look inside, outside the canopy, and understand with a level of precision that has never been available before, and that surpasses the traditional manual methods to do that. But maybe I'll let Rodrigo close on how that becomes potentially a huge labor savings, and we know labor is an ever-increasing portion of fresh produce cost.
Yes, sorry, I think we have more ideas of probably things that we can do in the short period of time. But it's that marriage of technology in the field and how you can make better decisions. That's ultimately, what we want to achieve, with this partnership, that we have internally and also with third parties. And labor is a major issue nowadays for the entire produce industry. It's not just the apple segment, it's just all across. So we have this technology that can really help manage that, environmental stresses, ripening on the tree, so growers can plan better their harvest and regulate the amount of labor that we'll need. So always thinking about our solutions are not really just about freshness. Our near harvest solutions about how you can put more fruit into that box, into the packing house. So that's really how we're thinking the future for AgroFresh.
Great. That is a great line to end on. So thank you so much for coming in. I really
Thanks for
appreciate
inviting
the
us.
time. And like I said, I'm a big fan of the company, and I'm looking for you to do more and more great things to solve our problems. So thank you very much.
Happy very much. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And thank you very much for watching and listening to this podcast. Signing out from IFPA.